Good evening. I am Councillor Julie Grace, Chair of Council, and I would like to welcome you all to this full Council meeting. Can you please remain standing as we observe 1 minute silence for the late Venerable Bob Fitzharris, who passed away on 20th of August. Bob was Archdeacon of Doncaster from 2001 to 2011, a freeman of City of Doncaster, a great supporter of this council, an advocate for Doncaster. Bob's funeral was held at Doncaster Minster on the 4th of September. We send our condolences to his wife Leslie and daughters Rosemary, Susan and Catherine. We have also been informed today that Roger Chubey, a freeman of City of Doncaster and local businessman, passed away earlier this week after a short illness. We do not have any details of the funeral arrangements at this time, but we'll let members know in due course. Our condolences go out to Roger's family and friends at this sad time. Please remain standing whilst we pay our respects. Please be seated. We're not expecting a fire practice, but in the event of hearing the fire alarm, please leave the chamber and turn right. Proceed down the stairway and through the emergency exit on the ground floor. The assembly point is in the public square in front of Cast, beyond the fountain. Anybody with mobility issues should wait in the refuge area near the lift and use the intercom to call for assistance. This meeting will be recorded and published on the Council's YouTube channel. By entering the Council chamber, you are accepting that you will be recorded and your images will be retained and broadcast by the Council. If any members of the public or press are intending to record or film any part of today's meetings, please ensure that this does not disturb the proceedings. Can everyone ensure that the mobile phones are switched to silent mode, please? Thank you. Right, apologies for absence. I have received apologies for absence from Councillors Joe Blackham, Rachel Blake, Nigel Cannings, Majid Khan, Sue Knowles, Rob Reid, Thomas Noon. Are there any other apologies for absence? Thank you. Thank you. Susan Brandt. Thank you. Harris has done that one, thanks. Item 2, to consider if the public or press are to be excluded from the meeting. There are no exemption items on today's agenda. Item 3, declaration of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? Thank you. Item 4, minutes of the council meeting held on the 11th of July 2024. Are the minutes a true and accurate record? Right, thank you. Right, item 5, announcements. I have a couple of announcements. Firstly, I would like to share with you some of my experiences as Civic Mayor since taking up the role in May. I have had a very busy summer with attending many engagements across the city. My busy schedule has enabled me to meet many wonderful people, communities and organisations and see what a great place Doncaster really is. I have attended many formal civic events as well as engagements with smaller voluntary and community groups, which I really do enjoy. Some of my key highlights over the summer have included attendance at the following: Armed Forces Day on the 29th of June 2024, where we were able to show our support and thanks for the men and women that make up our Armed Forces community. The UK Pride event hosted in Doncaster on Saturday the 10th of August, where we celebrated equality, diversity and acceptance with the LGBTQ and community. DN1 Live held on 6th to 8th of September, which showcased 3 days of local music talent and entertainment for all ages. The presentation of the first ever King's Award for Enterprise and Innovation to Senior Architectural Systems, a firm based in Denby. It says here, getting involved with activities at the Recovery Games at Atfield Outdoor Academy, Outdoor Activity Centre, which I attended last week. But as I said, Andrew, I didn't do no activities. But I did enjoy it. I really did enjoy it. Moving forward into the autumn, there are a couple of important civic events taking place which I would encourage you to attend. These are our annual Remembrance Sunday event at the Cenotaph, Bennetthorpe, on Sunday the 10th of November, and to observe the 2-minute silence outside the Mansion House at 11 a.m. on Monday, 11th of November, as we remember those who have lost their lives in conflicts on Armistice Day. My second announcement is to inform you that the Heritage Doncaster is leading a series of activities to mark the 40th anniversary of the year-long miners' strike. This includes a film documenting the strike and its impacts on the community, told by local people with lived experiences, which would be projected onto the front of Cusworth Hall at an event on Sunday the 10th of November. And we had one at Cusworth Hall before, and it's fantastic when you see it up on the hall. The work is being created and developed by local artist Wayne Sables. Thank you. So, Mayor Jones, I understand you have an announcement.
I've got 2 announcements, Chair, so I ask your indulgence if I run over the time allocated. Thank you. My first announcement is South Yorkshire Airport City Update, and the brief is in relation to our efforts to reopen our airport. As per plan, we are continuing with our due diligence, legal process and financial checks, including public subsidy controls. We now have a new Labour government, which has meant new ministers to brief, and this has ultimately added a few weeks to our schedule as we weren't expecting the general election until October or November. Nevertheless, work continues at pace on a number of fronts. The procurement of an operator is in its final stages of due diligence. We have regular meetings with investors, businesses and airlines. This final phase is about pulling it all together. We have submitted a statement of need to the Civil Aviation Authority in relation to re-establishing our airspace. This is publicly available via the Civil Aviation Authority website. I cannot emphasise enough the importance of retaining our airspace. Our MPs continue to engage with the Aviation Minister in relation to this. Of course, I will continue to keep councillors up to date with progress as we work to see planes flying from Doncaster once again. My second announcement is in relation to the government decision to means test the winter fuel allowance. On behalf of myself and my cabinet, I have written to government expressing our concerns with this decision. Whilst we acknowledge that there are many pensioners with high incomes who do not need the winter fuel allowance, and as such the universal allowance may not be being used to the best of limited resources. We also acknowledge that the state pension has increased. We fully understand and appreciate the inheritance of the public finances and the financial black hole led by the previous Conservative government, but we must do all we can to support our residents and pensioners who are the most vulnerable within our society and just outside the current threshold of state support. We are concerned about those pensioners who are not well off, who just missed out on pension credit and therefore will no longer receive the winter fuel allowance. We've requested that this decision be revisited and that a review of the eligibility criteria for the winter fuel allowance takes place in consultation with pensioners' representative groups, and that due consideration should be given to protecting those pensioners on low and middle incomes who may struggle with the cost of energy this winter. We have suggested to either increase the threshold of pension credit, to raise the threshold at which the winter fuel allowance is paid, or to offer some sort of tapered support to pensioners who just miss out on the pension credit threshold. City of Doncaster Council will continue to do all we can to support those on lowest incomes, including pensioners, this winter and beyond, whether this is through the Household Support Fund, local council tax reduction scheme, discretionary housing payment, or our local assistance scheme. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor, have you got any announcements?
No, Chair, thank you.
Any other Cabinet members? Thank you. Chief Exec, do you want to make any announcements?
None, Chair.
Thank you. Right, item 6, questions from the public. There is one question on today's agenda from Mr David Dixon to Mayor Ros Jones. This question is as follows. Given that Doncaster Council is now receiving £2 million a year from the long-term plan for towns and the Levelling Up Partnership, can Mayor Jones commit to a satellite police station in the French Gate Centre in order to not only project a safe city centre but deliver one? Mayor Jones, would you like to respond?
Thank you for your question, Mr Dixon. Like you, I want a city centre with improved public safety. However, the location of the satellite police stations and the deployment of police resources is a decision for South Yorkshire Police and not this council. I have already committed £1 million of council resources to help tackle crime and antisocial behaviour within our city centre. Further details on this will be released in due course. I would also like to add that the French Gate Centre are reporting to us that they have seen a reduction in antisocial behaviour year on year during the summer holiday period. Thank you for your question.
I understand Mr Dixon is in the chamber. Would you like to ask a supplementary question, Mr Dixon? That's right. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Mayor Jones.
Can I just remind you, Mr Dixon, thank you, that supplementary question should not be a statement. It must arise directly out of the original question or reply given. Thank you.
No problem, Chair. Thank you, Mayor Jones, for that response again. In July, 1,677 crimes were reported in Doncaster city centre. Recently, over 4,000 residents, that's over 50% of those asked, reported feeling unsafe in the city centre. So I ask you, has the Public Spaces Protection Order failed, or is your administration, on top of removing the antisocial behaviour gangs, the beggars and the drug users from our city centre? Thank you, Mayor Jones.
Can I now invite you to respond?
I think I've actually said the resources we put in the city centre and beyond with the £1 million, and that information will come out in due course. But thank you for your question.
Right, on behalf of the council, can I thank Mr Dixon for his question? Right, moving on to item 7, the Youth and Justice Plan. The Cabinet Member for Early Help, Young People and Children's Social Care, Councillor Lainey May Ball, will present this item. Councillor Ball.
Thank you, Chair. Today I'm really pleased to introduce the Statutory Youth Justice Plan for 24-25. The plan within the papers today highlights performance by the Youth Justice Service over the past year and some areas of challenge in this regard. The plan, as always, is informed throughout by the experiences and voices of young people, and these can be viewed throughout the plan itself and also in the appendices. The service continues to work to reduce reoffending with young people, and this has always been a historic area of strength. There is a consistent pattern within this cohort of children that are nearing adulthood with significant and complex needs, which has directly impacted on the ability to implement its practice model. The live track data indicates that reoffending rate has already reduced, in part due to our commitment to bringing children back into high quality provisions within Doncaster, meaning that the service is able to work directly with those children to effect positive change. The custody rate has fallen over the last 18 months, and the service strives to achieve the set target of no more than 2 young people known to the Youth Offending Service receiving a custodial sentence. The first-time entrant rate has reduced following a period of turbulence in the previous year linked to various COVID delays. And the plan also sets out targets for this financial year, which are ambitious. The service aims to ensure that first-time entrant rate does not exceed the target through the work of EPIC and work towards an aspirational reoffending target of 24%. The custody rate target remains the same as last year. The service continues to work towards bringing the rate of children who are looked after in the criminal justice system to a level which is comparable to children who are not. This is especially important given that being cared for or having care experience is now a protected characteristic here in Doncaster. The plan also highlights some notable achievements in 23-24, including the continuation of a strong therapeutic offer for both children and families, the implementation of an in-house harmful sexual behaviour pathway, and the recruitment of additional careers advisors via a Grow Your Own scheme. The EPIC Town Centre Hub continues to support large numbers of young people across the city, and EPIC are using virtual reality programmes as an educative tool for young people and the professionals that are working with them. In March this year, the Youth Justice Service was subject to His Majesty's Inspectorate of Prisons inspection. The published report highlights impressive work to meet the needs of children and recognise that children and families have access to a wide range of services and provision to meet their needs, citing that the Youth Justice Service has an exceptional health offer and that practitioners are skilled at recognising and responding to the individual needs of children. The main area for improvement related to risk, with the Inspectorate finding that practice to keep other people safe was not in line with their Inspectorate standards. It is important to note that inspectors did not find children presenting an imminent risk of harm to others, but assessed that this area needed strengthening to improve overall safety. Therefore, the service has already begun to implement a robust improvement plan based on the recommendations in the report. I ask that members endorse this plan and its recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you. If any member wishes to speak on this item or any other item on today's agenda, please press the large red button once on your console. Do not press it again unless you wish to cancel your request to speak. When I indicate it's your turn to speak, and you do not need to press your red button again, as your microphone will be switched on by the officers operating the system. You may, however, press the red button to mute your microphone when you have finished speaking. Which Jane? Oh no. Right, where are we now? Thank you. Right. It has been proposed that the Youth Justice Plan 2024 to 2025 approved. Is that motion seconded? Thank you. Is that all agreed? Thank you. Item 8, Health and Wellbeing Strategy 2024 to 30. Councillor Nigel Ball will introduce this item. Councillor Ball.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, the health of many residents in Doncaster is poor when compared to our regional neighbours and the rest of England. Our local health services play a crucial role in improving and protecting the health of Doncaster's residents. However, they are only one part of the solution, with many factors outside of the scope of healthcare services impacting on our health and well-being. The foundations for good health and well-being must be in place for everyone in Doncaster to thrive. These foundations include job security and fair pay, quality housing, access to a green space, feeling safe and receiving a quality education. The role of Doncaster's Health and Wellbeing Board is to provide leadership to help and influence everyone to address the health and wellbeing challenges for Doncaster. The board is required to develop and publish a strategy for Doncaster. The strategy must be informed by data, insight and voice to understand and identify the priorities where the board can make a difference for better health and wellbeing. Doncaster's previous health and wellbeing strategy was published in 2016. I think we can all agree that a lot's happened since then. Since then, there has been a number of significant events, including floods, the COVID-19 pandemic, and certainly the cost of living crisis. There has also been changes to the NHS, including the formation of the integrated care boards, and the new strategy takes account of these impacts and changes. The health and wellbeing strategy sets out the priorities for improving the health and wellbeing of its local population, and the focus the board will take when working together. The production of this health and wellbeing strategy has been led by Doncaster Health and Wellbeing Board in consultation with members of the public, key partners, and this has included targeted conversations with residents across the city, analysis of both new and current data sets, including evidence and insight from the Fairness and Wellbeing Commission, sharing and testing on findings and priorities with a variety of stakeholders. The members of the Health and Wellbeing Board have developed 3 priority areas to focus on, which are to improve the experience of ageing, close the gap in women and child's health, create healthy places to live, grow and play. The Health and Wellbeing Board have started to collaboratively develop approaches for the 3 areas to focus on. This work is taking place in tandem with Doncaster's Integrated Care Board's priorities to ensure that we maximise our resources and expertise to improve health and address health inequalities in Doncaster and certainly across the city. Council is asked to note and approve the approach taken to develop the strategy. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Does any member wish to speak on this item? Councillor Ransom.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Nigel. Fully approve of the ambitious strategy, and I was part of it, and you chaired it. As the chair of the board, when do you hope that Doncaster will start to see improvement?
Is there anybody else that wishes to speak on this item? Councillor Board, do you wish your right to exercise your right of reply?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Thank you very much for that, Cynthia. I think, in fairness, it's got off to a flying start. As you know, certainly at the last Health and Wellbeing Board meeting, we had a development session that was focusing primarily on women and women's health. It was a really collaborative session that involved a lot of agencies, organisations outside of Doncaster local authority and brought these experiences together. What we were able to do there is get that real good mapping of services across Doncaster. And what struck me is that although there were an host of agencies in the room itself, what we found, and certainly what I found, is that each single service complemented each other. There didn't seem to be any service that were tripping over the legs of anybody else. So we know that when you've got a variety of services working in one area, there's always that chance that effectively somebody's going to say, well, it's their job and it's not my job. But certainly in terms of our partners with the NHS and what we do through our family hubs, and also in terms of our 0 to 5s and obviously some of the services like that, I found that it was quite reassuring to know that there was that really sort of like distinct area of specialism that everybody took up. So I thought that development session were really positive, and I think that's the way to go. That's the way the Health and Wellbeing Board will go from now on in terms of developing specialisms around those various areas that were, you know, the 3 key areas. I would expect, if I'm perfectly honest, to see some improvement, certainly in terms of the way that we work with other agencies within a year to 18 months. I really do, because it seems to be that it's much more joined up now, and obviously it's around ensuring that we have that partnership approach, not just that it's the local authority, it's other agencies and organisations together.
Right, thank you. It has been moved that the Health and Wellbeing Board annual report be approved. Is that seconded? Is that agreed? Right, thank you. Item 9, questions by elected members. Questions on notice to the Executive. We have one question on notice from Councillor Nick Allen to Mayor Jones. The question is as follows. Over recent months, there has been an upturn in the unauthorised gypsy and traveller encampments on Bolton Hill, Bessaker and in Oakley too. Doncaster Council does not have a robust traveller development plan. This means that these incidents are often dealt with on an ad hoc basis because no plan is in place to take the strategic, long-lasting action. Other councils have measures to stop this happening. The incident on Bolton Hill and Oakley have caused considerable distress to local residents, many of whom have cleaned the mess up themselves. What steps are you willing to take to combat this problem? Mayor Jones, would you like to respond?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for your question, Councillor Allen. City of Doncaster Council is obliged to manage unauthorised encampments on council-owned land and utilise, where appropriate, the provisions of the Criminal Justice and Public Order Act for the direction of such encampments. The Council Street Scene Service do ensure that the entry and exit points to certain vulnerable locations are secured. However, it is not possible to stop all access to council-owned land, and from time to time, unauthorised encampments will be established. The Council has a partnership working arrangement with South Yorkshire Police, who also have powers to tackle unauthorised encampments and will jointly coordinate the suitable approach. Doncaster is the largest metropolitan borough in the country, and as a council we have a large amount of green open space, such as parks. We must ensure a balance of both mitigation measures to prevent unauthorised access, alongside ensuring public access for walking, cycling and wheelchairs, as well as council services such as street scene, being able to manage the green space with tractors and other machinery. We have a strategic policy for gypsy travellers and travelling show people within our Doncaster local plan under Policy 11. This assessed accommodation needs of gypsies, travellers and travelling show people should be met on existing sites, yards with capacity in the borough. Managing the unauthorised encampment involves a balance between the rights of the landowner, the rights of and the impact on the local community, and the rights and welfare needs of the people who form part of the encampment. In the last 12 months, the council has experienced 2 unauthorised encampments at Bolton Hill playing fields, which is council-owned land, and has experienced 1 unauthorised encampment in Oakley on parish council-owned land. I can advise that the following recent unauthorised encampment, the various council departments involved have met to discuss, debrief and understand what steps could be taken to prevent unauthorised access to the particular areas mentioned. There are several authorised private and council-run caravan sites in Doncaster. The council has well-established sites at the following locations: White Towers in Armthorpe, Little Lane on Clay Lane, Land's End Road in Thorne and Nursery Lane in Sprotborough. These sites are managed by St Ledger Homes and have permanent pitches which are all fully serviced with water, drainage and electricity, providing permanent pitches for gypsies and travellers who meet the eligibility criteria. The council and our partners will continue to work collectively, taking a firm and proactive approach to dealing with unauthorised encampments to ensure they are moved on as quickly as possible using all the legal powers available to us. Thank you for your question.
Councillor Allen, you may ask a supplementary question if you wish, and this must arise directly from the original question or Mayor Jones's response. Councillor Allen? Right, thank you. We shall now move on to the second part of the agenda, item 9, questions without notice. Please use the button on your console to indicate if you wish to ask a question. Are there any questions to Mayor Ross-Jones? Councillor Ransom.
Thank you, Chair. Mayor Jones, I would like to inform yourself and the Council of the achievement of Sprotbrough and Cusworth Parish Council. They are the first in Yorkshire out of 600 parish councils to receive a top national award for providing quality service. This has been achieved by passing a rigorous and continued assessment process. National Local Chairman says they are to be congratulated immensely. This demonstrates good practice, good governance, community engagement and council improvement. May I ask your indulgence that you congratulate Sprotbrough Parish Council on behalf of Doncaster City Council on this achievement for Doncaster.
Mayor Jones, would you like to respond?
I'm delighted to congratulate them. I always like to see all parishes going forward with good governance, and therefore I'm sure everyone will endorse what I'm saying. Fantastic achievement.
Councillor Ransom, would you wish to ask a supplementary question?
It's not a question, it's just to say that thank you, myself, Councillors Bluff and Martin Greenhow and Councillor Leanne Hemstill are very proud, so thank you.
Right, Councillor Steve Cox, please.
Thank you. It's more of an acknowledgement, really, and it's Ross Damien, Chair of Council. Thank you to Team Doncaster for acknowledging the systematic racism exists in Doncaster. And the workshop number 7, has been set up in the new upcoming team conference, Doncaster Team Conference, sorry. To address this, it's a shame we have been asking to review this for a long time, and residents that have been put on the spot have been asking the same question. Regarding the same question, would it be good at this time to address the SPOC and acknowledge that conversation should have been had a long time ago?
Damien, Chief Executive, do you want to respond? Because you did address it to you as well.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and thank you for the question, Councillor Cox. Whilst I feel it's inappropriate to comment on individual cases, I can comment on the Council's use of the so-called spot process, or the single point of contact. The term relates to the LGA recommended process used to manage communication from individuals who either submit exceptional amounts of correspondence into the organisation or whose correspondence risks harassing staff members. In such cases, a single point of contact is appointed and the member of public is advised that they should only contact that one officer, usually a senior officer, and on this occasion, myself. And any other correspondence will not be responded to. Correspondence addressed to the named officer is responded to promptly where new issues or matters are raised, as opposed to previous matters that have been dealt with in prior correspondence and appropriately, and the residents' rights are otherwise maintained. The Council has a small number of such arrangements across our directorates, and each arrangement is reviewed on an annual basis to consider whether it remains necessary. With regards to this case, the offer of a face-to-face annual review meeting will be made shortly. Thank you for your question.
Councillor Cox, would you like to ask a supplementary question?
No, thank you. I think I've had that response before, probably about 12 months ago. Thank you.
Councillor Glenborough.
Thanks very much, Chair. It's really a question about a clarification. A few months ago, I came back to Doncaster from London about 1 o'clock in the morning. As I exited the station, I was greeted by two beggars, I suppose would be the best way, asking me for some money as I exited the station. I went to my car, set off down Trafford Way. As I came out the other side, underneath the French gate, I was greeted by a lady who was laying in the road, semi-conscious. I helped her up, phoned the police, phoned for an ambulance, and they gave me the impression that they were monitoring her on camera, this wasn't an unusual thing to happen. They seemed aware of who she was. As I helped her to her feet and crossed the road, there was a gentleman who was also intoxicated. He seemed to know her as well. I got the impression perhaps they were staying in the town centre. So Mr Dixon earlier asked you about what was happening at the crime in the Frenchgate Centre. I just wondered, can I have a clarification? Do you feel safe in the city centre at night?
Mayor Jones, would you like to respond? Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I often come from the station as I've been to late meetings in other places. So yes, I do feel safe. I, like many other people, ensure I go along a well-lit road in order to get back here, usually, to where my car is parked. So yes, I do feel safe. But thank you for your question.
Councillor Bluff, do you wish to ask a supplementary question? Councillor Jane Cox.
Thank you. Mayor Jones, has the council commissioned an impact statement on the effect there will be on the NHS primary care and social care with the removal of the winter fuel allowance from over 60,000 Doncaster pensioners by this new Labour government?
Ross, would you like to respond?
Will when the light comes on. Thank you. The impact assessment is made by government. I've read the same as you, whereby it doesn't need to be done before their announcements take place. As I've said previously in my announcement, what I have done in relation to the people here in Doncaster and what we hope to see. But thank you for your question.
Councillor Cox, would you like to ask a supplementary question?
I think my concern is if the council have to plug the gap is £18 million for 60,000 residents. And I'm not entirely convinced you can find that down the back of the settee.
Would you like to respond?
As I've said, the council are not looking to plug the gap. The council are looking to ensure we help the most vulnerable people who are tottering on the lines, and that's what we will be doing. But I will also emphasise that the council does much which others doesn't, and that is certain areas where we give 100% council tax allowance to people needy. So therefore, we will be looking at the monies that comes in and actually the procedures we must follow, but we look to seek to help our pensioners who are in need. Thank you.
Right, Councillor Ransom, I've got you down to ask another question.
Is that all right?
Not, you can't address it to Mayor. Do you want to address it to somebody else? Okay. Who are you wanting to address?
Councillor Cole, I think.
Can we
It's
wait
not
till we get to
time yet.
Councillor Cole? Thank you. Councillor Nick Allen.
Thank you. We have put forward in our budget meetings for solar panels on social housing. My colleague, Steve Cox, has asked the Mayor of South Yorkshire in a scrutiny meeting if he would support the initiative of installing solar panels on social housing, and he said yes in a public meeting. We now see Octopus Energy has put out a statement regarding solar panel installations on housing that would save the residents £420 and a surplus sold back to the grid. It would also play a massive part in achieving the net zero target. I know Councillor Cox has said this to you and Debbie as something that the Conservative group would like to see happen. It also states in the statement put out by the company that it's supported in fact by the new Labour government. Will you, the Mayor, support our group in getting this into the next budgets to support residents in achieving a more certain winter in the future?
Would you like to respond?
I will support all I can within the resources that we've got. And as you may be aware or may not be aware, we've actually put solar panels on several OAP bungalows in the past, but they was determined where they was put by the company actually doing the installation. Where we get the funding and the ability to apply for the funding to do this, we will always push to do that. And of course, I would always say that I support putting solar panels throughout where we can to help our environment and everything that goes with that. Thank you.
Councillor Allen, would you like to ask a supplementary question? Thank you. All right. Are there any questions to Deputy Mayor Councillor Glyn Jones? Councillor Ransom.
Thank you, Chair. Glenn, I listened very carefully to your answer on opposition chairs, and I accept that Doncaster does not follow the LGA guidelines, but could you demonstrate, as the lead party, why, when a new councillor is elected, they are automatically given a chair of scrutiny? What criteria do you work to? Is it ability, qualifications, monetary, power, gratitude?
Would you like to reply?
Yes, Chair, thank you. It's a number of factors, some of which you've mentioned there. It's also about a personal desire and an interest in that particular area, and that's why within our group we have a democratic process to work through that. Thank you, Chair.
Would you like to ask a supplementary question, Councillor Ransom? Thank you. Is there any questions for Councillor Laney May Ball? Any questions for Councillor Nigel Ball? In the absence of Councillor Blackham, can you put any questions in writing to the Executive Office? Are there any questions for Councillor Phil Cole? Councillor Glenbluff?
I'm not sure if it is you, Phil, or not, but do you do asset management? No, right, okay. Is that Jane? Blackham? Oh, right, okay, thank you. Right, thank you.
Councillor Cynthia Ransom?
Thank you, Chair. Again, Councillor Cole, not sure that this is you, but I do apologise if it's not, but I'm viewing it on the fact that you're finance, okay? So the elderly residents in our rural villages are already disadvantaged. No bus service, living alone, ages well into the 90s, causing isolation and loneliness. Their heating allowance has been stopped by this government. Utility bills to rise this winter, although promised not to. They have now received a letter from the council asking them if they are entitled to the 25% reduction that they receive for living alone. My question is this: from many anxious residents in our ward, are they going to lose the rate reduction?
Councillor Cole? Can I redirect that to Councillor Nightingale?
As far as I'm aware, yeah, if it's in relation to what's being currently out there regarding the reduction of the 25% discount for council tax claimants, we've not sent any letters out, so that I'll chase that up to find out why. So if you could give me a specific area, the council. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Well, you've got one. Have you? Well, I've not been made aware that we've been sending letters out. Yeah. Check that this. All right. So, Cynthia, and you've not got.
It's worried them greatly. In other words, what else is going to be stopped? So that's the complaints I've had from the residents. So, okay.
If you've not got any further persons living with you, then you're all right.
Are there any questions for Councillor Sue Farmer? Are there any questions for Councillor Mark Holbrook? Are there any more questions for Councillor Jane Nightingale? Yes, Glenbluff. Councillor Glenbluff.
Thanks very much, Chair. I hope I've got the right person this time. So over the summer, elected members have struggled to access the new planning portal link. While it appears to work for some using the Power BI report servers, others have had serious issues.
Can I redirect it to Councillor Cole then, please?
I was away then. Right. Maybe I ought to ask someone else. Okay. Over the summer, Phil, elected members have struggled to access the new planning portal. While it appears to work for some using the Power BI report servers, others have had serious issues. Can you give assurances that these issues are now resolved and give members assurance that in future testing will be conducted with elected members before such changes are rolled out across to everyone?
Thank you for the question, Councillor Bluff. It's nice to get the right person once out of 3 attempts. You got me all going a few minutes ago and then it wasn't me at all. The Power BI should be more efficient and more effective for councillors. It's certainly more interactive. It's not just a passive piece of paper that you scroll through looking for your ward. It allows people to check on the progress of applications much more quickly and in more detail. There is training available for any member who is struggling to use the system. A lot of us should have done that training, and I know that Roy Sykes from the Planning Department is happy to give people advice, and also Jenna Rumley does some excellent training on this. So if any councillors, and I address this to everybody in the room, any councillors have difficulty managing the Power BI on their council supplied laptops, please, or other systems, please contact me. I'm sure Jenna Rumley would be happy to, I've set her up now, haven't I? Happy to help any councillor make effective use of this service. If we carry on for the next 5 years producing paper copies of all the planning applications as well, to be honest, we'll duplicate and we'll waste resources, and we'll be using staff time that we better use serving our residents better. But happy to help. If you want to send me any details or of your difficulties, I will make sure that she gets in touch and offers you assistance.
Would you like to? Do you want to ask a supplementary question?
I think the issue was more about not so much the training side of it. I think some people were just unable to get to the link at all because they were using other devices, not necessarily their council laptop. And I think that was causing some problems because previously they could get to those applications.
Yeah, and sorry, I forgot to thank you properly for your question, but because it's beyond my gift to run any kind of techie workshop in this council meeting, I am happy to make sure that someone sits down and makes sure that councillors that are having difficulty accessing the system, because it's such a good and easy system to use, anybody who's having difficulty, I'll make sure that they get assistance.
Right, any questions for Councillor Sarah Smith? Right. Elected members, are you now invited to put questions to the chairs of committees? Any questions for the audit committee, can you send it in writing to Councillor Austin White? Even the chair of elections and democratic structures, Councillor Emma Muddy Rawlins? None. Are there any questions for the chair of Health and Wellbeing Board, Councillor Nigel Ball? Right, the Chair of OSMC, Councillor Jane Kidd. Right, item 10, minutes of the joint authorities. These minutes are for information and not for endorsement. Does any member wish to speak on this item? Right. Can I ask members to move the minutes to be noted? Thank you. Members, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the business at today's meeting. I now declare the meeting closed.